Welcome to Hockey Whiz Talks podcast. In this podcast, I'll be recapping the 2025 NHL trade deadline. In this podcast, I'll be recapping some of the trades that occurred leading up to and during the NHL trade deadline. Plus, I will discuss the winners and losers of the deadline. Here are some trades that occurred before the deadline. Colorado Avalanche acquired Ryan Lindgren and Jimmy Vesey from the New York Rangers for Calvin DeHaan, Juuso Parssinen, and a conditional 2nd and 4th round pick in the 2025 NHL Draft. Minnesota Wild acquired Gustav Nyquist from the Nashville Predators for a 2nd round pick in 2026. Florida Panthers acquire Seth Jones from the Chicago Blackhawks for Spencer Knight and a 1st round pick in 2026. Chicago retains 26% of Jones' contract for the remainder of the contract. Edmonton Oilers acquire Trent Frederic, Max Jones, and Peter Hauser in a 3-team trade with Boston and New Jersey. Boston acquires Max Wayner, a 2nd round pick in 2025 and a 4th round pick in 2026, while New Jersey gets Shane LaChance and retains 50% of Frederic's salary. Florida Panthers acquire Vitek Vanacek from the San Jose Sharks for Patrick Gillies. Tampa Bay Lightning acquire Oliver Borkstrand, Yanni Gourde, Keith O'Coin, and a 5th round pick in 2026 in a 3-team trade with Seattle and Detroit. Seattle acquires Michael Eastmont, a 2nd round pick in 2025, a conditional 1st round pick in 2026, and a conditional 1st round pick in 2027. Seattle retains $2.58 million of Yanni Gourde's contract. Detroit acquires a conditional 4th round pick in 2025. San Jose acquires Vincent Desharnais from Pittsburgh for a 5th round pick in 2028. The Nashville Predators acquire Michael Bunting and a 4th round pick in 2026 from the Pittsburgh Penguins for Luke Schenn and Thomas Novak. Florida Panthers acquire Nico Sturm and a 7th round pick in 2027 from the San Jose Sharks for a 4th round pick in 2026. New Jersey Devils acquire Brian Dumoulin from the Anaheim Ducks for a 2nd round pick in 2025 and Herman Traff. Anaheim retains 50% of Dumoulin's contract. Vegas Golden Knights acquire Riley Smith from the New York Rangers for Brandon Brisson and a 3rd round pick in 2025. The Rangers retain 50% of Riley Smith's contract. Minnesota Wild acquire Justin Brazeau from the Boston Bruins for Marat Kuznetsov, Jacob Lauko, and a 6th round pick in 2026. Colorado Avalanche acquire Brock Nelson and William Dufour from the New York Islanders for Caleb Ritchie, Oliver Chillington, a 2026 or 2027 1st round pick, and a conditional 3rd round pick in 2028. Edmonton Oilers acquire Jake Wellman from the San Jose Sharks for a conditional 2026 1st round pick and Carl Berglund. If the 2026 1st round pick is top 12, Edmonton sends their 2027 1st round pick. And now a word from our sponsor. Check out my scouting blog at hockeywiz777scouting.com. Listen to my scouting blog podcast on podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/hockeywiz777scouting. Trade deadline deals. Chicago Blackhawks acquire Shea Weber from the Utah Hockey Club for a 2026 6th round pick. Carolina Hurricanes acquire Mark Jankowski from the Nashville Predators for a 5th round pick in 2026. Colorado Avalanche acquire Charlie Coyle and a 5th round pick in 2026 from the Boston Bruins for Casey Middlestat, Will Zellers, and a 2nd round pick in 2025. Colorado Avalanche also acquire Eric Johnson from the Philadelphia Flyers for Giovanni Smith. Columbus Blue Jackets acquire Luke Cunnin from the San Jose Sharks for a 4th round pick in 2025. Dallas Stars acquire Mikko Rantanen from the Carolina Hurricanes for Logan Stankoven, 2 1st round picks, and 2 3rd round picks. Detroit Red Wings acquire Peter Mrazek and Craig Smith from the Chicago Blackhawks for Joe Veleno. Florida Panthers acquire Brad Marchand from Boston for... Florida Panthers acquired Brad Marchand from the Boston Bruins. Trade details have not been disclosed. LA Kings acquired Andrei Kuzmenko from the Philadelphia Flyers for a 3rd round pick in 2027. The New Jersey Devils made 3 trades on the deadline. First, they acquired Cody Glass and Jonathan Gruden from the Pittsburgh Penguins for a 3rd round pick, Chase Stillman, and Max Graham. Then they acquired Daniel Sprong from Seattle for a 7th round pick in 2026. New Jersey also acquired Dennis Cholowski from the New York Islanders for Adam Beckman. New York Rangers acquired Nicholas Abe-Kubel from the Buffalo Sabres for Eric Brandstrom. Ottawa Senators acquired Dylan Cousins, Dennis Gilbert, and a second-round pick in 2026 from the Buffalo Sabres for Josh Norris and Jacob Bernard Darker. The Sens also acquired Fabian Zetterlund, Tristan Robbins, and a 4th-round pick from the San Jose Sharks for Zach Ostapchuk, Noah Gregor, and a 2nd-round pick. Toronto Maple Leafs acquired Scott Lyon with 50% retained, a 4th-round pick and a 6th-round pick from the Philadelphia Flyers for a conditional 1st-round pick and Nikita Grebenkin. Toronto also acquired Brandon Carlo from the Boston Bruins in a 3-team trade with Pittsburgh. Boston received Fraser Minton and a 1st-round pick, while Pittsburgh got Connor Timmins and Connor Dewar. Washington Capitals acquired Anthony Beauvillier from the Pittsburgh Penguins for a 2nd-round pick in 2025. Winnipeg Jets acquired Luke Shen from the Pittsburgh Penguins for a 2nd-round pick in 2026 and a 4th-round pick in 2027. The Jets also acquired Brandon Tanev from the Seattle Kraken for a 2nd-round pick in 2027. Check out my hockey blog at hockeywiztalkshockey.blogspot.com. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at hockeywiz777. The winners in the trade deadline are the Boston Bruins, Colorado Avalanche, Dallas Stars, Florida Panthers, Toronto Maple Leafs, and Tampa Bay Lightning. Although highly controversial, Boston parted ways with longtime veterans such as Brad Marchand, Charlie Coyle, and Brandon Carlo. They were able to fetch solid assets in return for some aging veterans. Boston will enter a retooling stage. Colorado added centers Brock Nelson and Charlie Coyle to improve their depth at center, while Ryan Lindgren will stabilize the back end. These acquisitions make Colorado one of the main contenders for the Stanley Cup. The Dallas Stars added Mikko Rantanen and locked him up for 8 more years. They also extended Wyatt Johnston for 5 years. These moves make Dallas a favorite for the Stanley Cup. The Florida Panthers added Seth Jones and Brad Marchand. This will position Florida as a contender once again. The Toronto Maple Leafs added Scott Lyon to improve their depth at center and Brandon Carlo to stabilize the blue line. The best part is that both players are under contract beyond the season. The Lightning added Yanni Gourde and Oliver Borgstrand to improve their depth scoring. This once again makes them a threat in the Eastern Conference. The losers at the trade deadline are the Buffalo Sabres, Carolina Hurricanes, Detroit Red Wings, Montreal Canadiens, New Jersey Devils, and Vancouver Canucks. The Buffalo Sabres did not weaponize their assets to fetch great return for the future. Their big move was dealing Dylan Cousins to Ottawa for Josh Norris. This was a lateral move. Perhaps the biggest loser of the trade deadline was the Carolina Hurricanes, who gave up Martin Necas, Jack Drury, and a 1st to get Rantanen, and then traded him for Stankoven and picks. The Detroit Red Wings were really quiet at the deadline. The only move they made was acquiring Peter Mrazek and Craig Smith from Chicago. This doesn't really help the team in any way. The Montreal Canadiens had horrible asset management. They chose to re-sign Jake Evans and did nothing with the pending UFAs like David Savard or Joel Armia. The New Jersey Devils lost Jack Hughes for the season, and both Jonas Siegenthaler and Dougie Hamilton will be out as well. Their response was to add Brian Dumoulin, Cody Glass, and Daniel Sprong. The Vancouver Canucks did nothing at the deadline and have no extension in place for Brock Besser. Not good asset management. Listen to Hockey Wiz Talks podcast on Podbean and Spotify. Check out my travel channel at youtube.com/HockeyWizTravels. After the trade deadline, some teams like Colorado, Dallas, and Florida walk away as clear favorites to win the Cup, while teams like New Jersey and Carolina are pushed further from contention. In my next podcast, I'll be talking about the NHL playoff picture.